Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex. My co-host Anthony Rivardo. We are just coming off the New York Giants' first Baltimore Ravens game, and I have to say I'm quite upset, angry. Any synonym of angry you can think of is how I feel right now. Pissed off, enraged, just disheartened. I feel embarrassed. As a fan, I feel embarrassed. Like, what they just put on the field, everything that just happened on the football field for the Giants and that just embarrassing loss makes me feel bad to be a Giants fan right now. As a historical franchise that has won 2 Super Bowls in the past 15 years, I have to say I expected more from this team. I expect more from Dave Gettleman. I expect more from ownership. And the fact that they keep going back and forth and really reverting back to their old ways and finding ways to force rebuilds over and over and over again with coaching changes and bad drafting. I'm tired of it, man. Anthony, I'm not even going to let you speak this time to open it. I'm not going to ask you how you're doing because I know how you're doing. You're feeling like crap. You're feeling like crap because the Giants are once again losing games that they need to at least be competitive in. Right? At least be competitive. All we ask is for average. Average is all we ask for. And instead, we get below average, no heart, no energy, sorry football. The offense I saw today was peewee level. I've seen high school teams perform at a better efficiency rate than that. And it's not Daniel Jones' fault this time. I have nothing to say about Daniel Jones and his desire to stand in the pocket. He took so many hits unblocked off the edge. I saw him go down, get whipped around over. There was one drive he got sacked 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row. And, here we are talking about another embarrassing loss, and nobody wants to give him any support, man. The wide receivers aren't doing anything. The offense isn't doing anything. The defense let up 4 scoring drives in a row, or 3, whatever it might be. This is a team that is far from good. They showed us a 4-game winning streak that made us think, maybe there's something there. Maybe they're taking upward steps, and I still think that they are on the upward trend, but I don't think that Dave Gettleman needs to be here any longer. I don't think that Jason Garrett needs to be here any longer, and let me tell you why. The last 3 games for the Giants, let me read out their scores for you. Arizona, 6 points. Cleveland, 7 points. Today against the Ravens, 13 points. That is 26 combined points. The Ravens just scored 27 on us in 1 game. We have scored less in 3 games than the Ravens just scored on us in 1 game, and how much? And way less than the Cleveland scored on us last week. I'm done. Bye, Jason. Bye. Pack your bags. Tricycle home. I don't care. Run your laps, man. The inadequacy, the inefficiency, the improductivity I've seen from this offense is borderline embarrassing. It is embarrassing. And I feel bad to be a Giants fan right now because we have to sit here and watch this, And ownership wants to do nothing to bring in a modern approach, to bring in a modern offensive coordinator. Let Joe Judge pick his guys. Jason Garrett was not a Joe Judge hire. It is clear as day that is the fact. They have no connection to one another. Him and Patrick Graham have a connection. Him and Burton Burns have a connection. Him and all of his coaches that he hired have a connection. Jason Garrett was the odd man out. And look what is happening. Disconnect. John Mara wanted Jason Garrett to come in and help this transition to head coach, and he's just a terrible play caller, a terrible offensive coordinator. His route concepts are garbage. No 4 verticals, no vertical pushing the field. They tried today, and 2 false starts in a row. Receivers running the wrong routes. I blame the offensive coordinator for a lot of this. Lack of discipline. This is a lack of discipline. Your guys don't know the playbook. They don't know what the hard count is. They don't know. Who do you blame for this? Of course the players deserve some of the blame. That is aside from the point. But the coordinator has to get this ironed out. Needs to discipline these players in some way to get them to play better. There's no energy on the field. No leadership. You watch Robert Saleh from the 49ers and see his energy, the way his team with all these injuries is rallying around him. Jason Garrett looks like he has no interest in coaching this team. No interest in coaching the offense. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the bullshit. Anthony, and how do you feel? Because I know you expected this, and it wasn't as big of a letdown as it should have been because, we expected to lose this game, but I at least want to see something more than embarrassment and making me feel like I can't even tell people I'm a Giants fan right now.
I mean, Listen, yeah, I'm upset with the way that this season has turned out. We went on a streak for a while, and we looked like we had a good chance of being a playoff team. And I'm disappointed where things have gone ever since that Seattle game. It's just been losing, which is super disheartening, of course. But this game, this isn't really a game that I'm going to get all up in arms about. This was one that I expected to lose. It was the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I had a little bit of optimism going in because I'm a Giants fan. I was hoping for the best. And I think that, we saw some good things from Daniel Jones today. I want to throw that out there.
Yes.
I think he actually did have a pretty good performance, all things considered. I don't think Jason Garrett did him any favors. I don't think his receivers did him any favors. A couple drops, especially one crucial one from Darius Slayton. Evan Engram was failing to get open a few times. He did end up with 7 receptions, 65 yards, though. He played pretty okay, coming off of his Pro Bowl selection. And I think Sterling Shepard played well, but, there was no running game. The running backs didn't produce much. And like I said, I think the offensive line, well, in the first half, I thought they did an excellent job. They only let up 2 pressures. Everything looked great. And then second half, they just completely fell apart. That offensive line just did a horrific job in the second half. So like I said, Daniel Jones, he still managed to throw for over 200 yards, 252, a touchdown, 0 interceptions. He really never put the ball in harm's way. There was a couple passes that were kind of bang-bang that maybe could have ended up in an interception, but really when you go look at those plays again, he was throwing them into tight windows because they were hot reads and it was a design you just catch and throw to a certain guy, and it's just very predictable, so the Ravens were able to sniff it out and break it up, and that's why it looked like it could have been an interception, but just trust me on this one, my evaluation on this, it's not on Daniel Jones. That was a product of the scheme, putting the ball in harm's way. But mostly, that's really what it comes down to, is this defense or this offensive scheme. It's just really poor. We've been harping on this for weeks now. We've been talking about it nonstop. Jason Garrett really is clear-cut the biggest issue for the Giants offensively. He hasn't been calling good games. His play designs haven't been anything to write home about. They have been very bland, predictable. The Ravens defense clearly knew what was coming most of the time. They were ready for a lot of the Giants play calls. Even, as a fan, we can all just sit there and we know if it's a run or a pass, and most of the time I can even say who is getting thrown to. It's a predictable offense, It really, we thought it would be aggressive today. I think we saw a little bit more aggression, but it wasn't enough, of course. We still only put 13 points on the board. Very disappointing there. All in all, it's just, a disappointing loss, and I hadn't even mentioned the defense yet, which really had a terrible performance against the run, especially. The Baltimore Ravens were able to rush for 249 yards and 1 touchdown. That is kind of insane. This is now the 5th game this season that Baltimore has rushed for over 200 yards. They have the best rushing attack in the NFL. This was something that we all knew going into this, that the Giants defense knew going into this, and they still failed to stop it. I don't know. I don't want to chalk that up to Patrick Graham. I think he's done a great job this season. I'll say the defense didn't look fully prepared, and it's a little confusing as to why that's the case. But I think really overall, the defense just looked outmatched. Looked like they didn't have enough talent on the field to really go up against the Baltimore Ravens. But I also want to say the tackling by the Giants defense today was horrendous.
Abysmal.
They missed tackles left and right. And you know what? Honestly, that was disheartening because that does in some way at least partially indicate to me that this team just was not playing playoff football, and they weren't playing with all of their heart and energy in this game, in a must-win game that now after we lost this, we are just, probably a few hours away from being eliminated from the playoffs. I find it very unlikely that we have everything break our way and we remain alive. And you know what? Even if we go into next week and we're still alive in the playoff hunt, and even if we do somehow slip in there, this is a team that this is not a good team. We are seeing that this is a very inconsistent team. This is a team that struggles in a lot of big moments. The Seahawks game being the only outlier. I really don't know if this is a team that could go anywhere in the playoffs. I'll always hold out hope and say, look at 2011, look at 2007. Those are teams that shouldn't have gone anywhere. They won Super Bowls. Of course, it's possible, and I would love to see it happen. I'll root for the Giants to make the playoffs until they're eliminated. But unfortunately, this team is just not where we thought it was a few weeks ago. They are not ready to compete at that highest level yet, and I think they have proven that over the last 3 weeks, and especially today with just a tough-to-watch performance against the Baltimore Ravens. Now we're 1 week away from finishing out the season. I'm a Giants fan, so I'll hope that we finish out the season with a W over Dallas especially, but we'll see. Disheartening loss, absolutely. but one I expected, just didn't expect it to be this ugly of a loss.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Giants have only scored 20 points or more 6 times this season. 6 times. And I'm only talking 20 points, man. 20 points. 6 times this season out of 16 games. The offense is a joke, an absolute joke. And it's not even for a matter of having lack of talent, right? We have some talent. We could be doing better than this. We could be. There was one play that really stood out to me. It was the slowest developing wide receiver screen in the red zone I have ever seen. It was Daniel Jones rolling out to the right side with the offensive lineman pulling to the left. Obvious.
I was not a fan of that play call either.
Negative
I thought
5
that was
yards. Negative 5 yards.
way
in the red
too
zone.
slowly developing. It was a play that you have to have all the time in the world in order for it to develop, and it just you don't have
don't
that.
do
you
that.
know? Not against that defense.
You don't do it in the red zone. You just, God, it's so frustrating because I just want to yell, man. I really just want to scream because the inept we're seeing from this offense is nothing I've ever seen before. It's nothing I've ever seen before, and we've had Pat Shurmur last year and Ben McAdoo as our offensive coordinators at times. Okay, we've seen the worst of it. I thought. Now we've really seen the worst of it. This is what the worst offense. We're talking about the Jets scoring more than 20 points against Cleveland, and we couldn't even score 7-8 points against them. 8 points. The Jets, who have a worse offense than us, just did that. And tell me how Jason Garrett deserves to keep his job right now. There's no justification. And a couple weeks ago I was saying, we've seen some decent progress. We've seen Jason Garrett open up his playbook. He must be sitting in the back of the room with a freaking crayon drawing up these plays. A crayon drawing up these plays. And the wide receivers aren't even running the routes properly. We see Sterling Shepard supposed to be going deep in the seam from the slot, and instead he's running a deep curl. I don't really get it. Like what is happening here? The miscommunication in week 16 for the offense is inexcusable. Inexcusable. And if you're John Mara, you're looking at Jason Garrett and saying, man, I hired you because we are familiar with you, we know you, we like you, and this is what you brought over from Dallas, the number 1 passing attack last year? The number 1 passing attack. This is what you brought from Dallas. This disgrace of an offense, with this disgrace of a conceptual-based scheme. Double slants at the bottom, hitch routes, not even running to the first down on third downs. What your receivers aren't even trying to get to the first down marker. There was one slant that I saw Darius Slayton just curl up into a ball because they didn't want to take a hit. And I get maybe he's dealing with some injuries and stuff. But your team needs you right now, man. Do your best. Fight for extra yards. Die for the first down. Show us that you actually want to win this game. I didn't see a single bit of that. And you saw Gus Edwards breaking tackles left and right, pushing guys down, missed tackles all over the place from the defense. That's because they wanted it more than us. They want to be a good team. They want to score points. Our offense has no passion, no energy, and I blame Jason Garrett every single day of the week for that. Because he is not a guy that's inspiring this unit with good play calling, good route concepts. He's not empowering his quarterback. Daniel Jones seems to be deflated. I saw him shaking his head multiple times after bad plays. Okay? I'm done with Jason Garrett. I want him gone. Everybody should want him gone. If you want him here, you have no idea what you're looking at on the field. And that is not to excuse any individual player from anything they've done wrong, because there is plenty to blame for the individual players. I've seen so much from individual guys making mistakes so many times. The false starts, you can't do that. You can't make those mistakes if you're on the offensive line. You have to know the hard count. You have to know the count. Okay? There are things on this offense. The lack of discipline is clear. And just like Joe Judge decided, I'm going to go work with the offensive line and correct these mistakes, he's got to go to Jason Garrett and say, you know what, man? You're not doing the job. Do I really have to come and help you? You've been in the NFL for 15 years coaching. Do I really have to come and help you and fix this unit right now? He's a wide receivers coach, for God's sake. Joe Judge used to be with the Patriots. Does he really need to go help a 15-year veteran coach figure out his unit, figure out his mistakes? It's unbelievable. So, at this point in the season, we have one game left against Dallas, which we are probably going to lose because their offense is actually good with a backup quarterback. They're going to crush us. They're going to run all over us. and their defense is playing better. We're in terrible shape. And honestly, the Giants, I don't even want them to make the playoffs because they would embarrass themselves. Not because I don't want to be in the playoffs. I just don't want to see them embarrass themselves in the playoffs because they got lucky and scraped out a win against Dallas and managed to get in. I don't want to see them get rocked in the postseason for no reason. That is more deflating than just missing it entirely.
I mean, I still want them to make the playoffs because I'll always hold out hope that you never know what's going to happen. Any given Sunday, it's football, you never know. So if they get in there, I'll of course be happy and I'll root for them and I'll hope for the best. But yeah, I know it's probably like the logical thing is to say, well, no, they're not ready for it. Why don't you just have them lose, get a higher draft pick, whatever. But yeah, that's the homer in me. I'll just hope for them to make the playoffs. But yeah, I agree with a lot of your points. Overall, absolutely, I think we've all seen enough of Jason Garrett. I think we can happily or confidently say that it's time to move on. Joe Judge fired Mark Colombo mid-season. He didn't like the job that he was doing on the offensive line, and then, of course, there was a verbal argument, like an actually bad scuffle between the two, and that led to his firing. But I don't think it should require that a scuffle or insubordination incident happens with Jason Garrett. I just think that he should fire him because he's not good at his job. That's probable, that's cause, he has a reason to do it, and he absolutely should. He proved it, when they were on that winning streak, I was the biggest advocate. I was saying, well, look, they're making improvements. I've seen some creativity, and I'm still going to hold true to this. Some point in the season, during the middle of the year, Jason Garrett's offense did improve, and it started to look better. It's just once Jones got injured, it regressed significantly and then stayed at the regression point. It didn't return to the progression point, and that's the biggest problem. That just shows that there's insane inconsistency, and that just shows that he can't actually sustain 16 games worth of good coaching. And if he can't do that, then why does he have a job, right? So I'm pretty confident that the Giants will look elsewhere this offseason. If they don't, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. I don't think that this is something where he needs a year two in Jason Garrett's scheme. Because what I've seen is Daniel Jones playing well but trapped in a poor scheme. I haven't seen Daniel Jones struggling and showing flashes in a good scheme and needing a year to break out. I'm seeing if he has to spend another year in the scheme, it's going to ruin his career. That's what I see. If his career hasn't already been ruined by a multitude of things. So I mean, that's my opinion on that. Defensively, I'm still confident in Patrick Graham. I just think he needs more to work with, especially off the edge. The Giants had zero pass rush today, especially from the edge rushers. And even the interior guys, they didn't really get much of a push. I saw Dexter Lawrence get one, maybe two pressures. Leonard Williams had one, maybe two pressures, but they were after like 5 seconds in the pocket for Lamar Jackson. So really just overall, poor showing from the defense, especially the defensive front. I think the defensive secondary did all that they could. Xavier McKinney, I want to mention him really quickly because he's a guy that we all love, and I really am a huge fan of him. I think he had a couple of good plays, but I'm a little annoyed because his effort did not seem to be there. I saw him just not go for some tackles. I saw him he didn't look like he was putting in a lot of effort, but then again, I saw the same thing from a few other defenders. I saw that from Yadam just struggled. He had a bad game. That's fine. It didn't look like a lack of effort. I saw some of the linebackers pulling up on some tackles, and I saw Xavier McKinney do it more than once, and I was a little disappointed in that. You're a rookie who hasn't played all year, and you got to really prove yourself. I don't know. That was a little confusing to me. He's usually a very aggressive tackler and a downhill, hard-hitting safety. I was really surprised to see him pull up on a few of those tackles. But, that's neither here nor there. Really, it's just my overall sentiment of this team, of this defense is disappointed, whether it's I'm focusing on McKinney for a couple seconds or if I'm focusing it on Leonard Williams and the defensive line. I'm just disappointed with the way that they played. I expected to lose. I didn't expect to feel like we lost within the first 8 minutes of the game. It was just watching us die a slow death. I expected us to at least have some semblance of an offense with Daniel Jones returning and hopefully be able to put something together and make this a competitive game. It was fool's gold at the end, fool's hope. We really were just crawling back, but not really. Like, the Ravens were playing with a lead. They knew what they were doing. They were just letting us get back into it because they could kill clock that way. This game was over as soon as it started. That's just what was so disappointing about it to me, even though I knew that it was going to be a loss for us. So, I don't know, man. Just that's that. I'm sure we'll do some film reviews and talk about some stuff that really hurt our feelings extra throughout the week, and then we'll have to start looking ahead to Dallas next week and hope that maybe we can end the season on a high note.
Look, man, there's a lot to hate about this team right now, and one of them is I don't think that Jason Garrett would be here right now if it was up to Joe Judge. I really don't. I think that Jason Garrett was a John Mara hire. In fact, we know it was a John Mara hire because Jason Garrett would have never been hired if it was Joe Judge's idea or his choice. And
who would have been, though, is my question. Like, who would he have had a connection to and found? Like, I just, for all of the great things that I have to say about Joe Judge, I just want to throw this out here and play a little bit of devil's advocate. He doesn't have many offensive connections. He was the wide receivers coach, so you can't find of New England, right? Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator. Shaplinski was the quarterback coach, and now he's our quarterback coach. He really didn't have a lot of connections to guys on offense. He had that on defense and stuff, but he was a member of the Patriots offensive staff. There just really wasn't a whole lot of connections for him to find offensively, but that's just kind of, if he's going out of the box, the Giants should allow him to go out of the box and find somebody and not tell him it's got to be Jason Garrett because we were already considering him for the head coaching position, which is as ridiculous as it sounds, right? So, Joe Judge, I want to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt there. I don't think he had a ton of connections, and you're not going to pull somebody up from the Alabama coaching staff or Mississippi State coaching staff probably to be the offensive coordinator for an NFL team, So I just really think overall he didn't have a lot of connections there, but it's time to be progressive, forward-thinking, get outside of the box and find somebody, and not a retread former head coach like Jason Garrett. Let's actually be progressive, forward-thinking, and find an offensive coordinator this time around if we're going to do it over again, which I hope that we are.
Yeah, no, you're right. It has to be someone forward-thinking with a modern approach to this game because, hardball running the football is not going to cut it these days. It's just not going to win you football games. I mean, look, the Baltimore Ravens do it, but they do it with one of the most modernized quarterbacks in the NFL, Lamar Jackson. Okay? That's the reality of their system. They run the ball heavily, but they do it with Lamar Jackson, so it's much different.
And look, it's possible to have a run-first football team in this NFL.
You need to have
the
the right
Ravens,
quarterback for it, though.
the Browns. Yes, you need the right quarterback, but also the Titans. The Titans are the perfect team to compare to the Giants when you're talking about the offense, right? Because Daniel Jones is very similar to Ryan Tannehill in many ways. Sneaky athleticism, not like an absolute cannon of an arm, but good enough, accurate throwing deep. They have similarities. It's a decent pro comp. But the thing is, with that offense versus this one, is the scheme. It's not about the personnel. The Giants might have a superstar running back when Saquon's in the backfield. They might have a quarterback comparable to Tannehill, but they don't have the offensive line that the Titans have. They don't have the receiving core that the Titans have, most certainly. And trust me, the receiving core opens up that running game big time, and that's what helps the Titans find so much success on the ground. And then, of course, just the offensive scheme in general, pre-snap motion, things like that, pulling guards and all that kind of stuff. That's the things that are missing from the Giants' offense that good rushing offenses have. So, yeah, we want to be a run-first offense, but we don't have what it requires to be a good run-first offense.
Yes. I do agree. And here's what my wish list, before we finalize this reaction video of just pure depression and mental distress, this is my final wish list. Saquon Barkley coming back. That's the number one thing. An offensive coordinator that knows how to use Saquon Barkley. Okay, that's the second thing. We need that because if you want to use Saquon, you need to learn how to use him properly. And I would love for the Giants to find somebody who actually knows how to do one thing: use him as a receiver. An arrow route from the running back position would be a godsend right now. I don't think I've ever wanted to see something so basic in my life. So, Saquon Barkley running a Texas arrow route, whatever you want to call it, out of the backfield, and getting him open in play action, but also dragging your tight ends across the formation post-snap. Designed rollouts to the right side for Daniel Jones with guys crossing the field from the left. These are basic things that the Giants just don't do. Basic things the Giants just completely avoid, and Jason Garrett is I guess, blind to, you could say. So here's the thing. Here's the third thing. A number one wide receiver. Because if you have a number one wide receiver, you're taking at least two defensive backs out of coverage every play. If you have a number one wide receiver who commands that attention. Saquon Barkley demands man coverage, right? So you're taking another defensive back, if not a linebacker, out of the secondary. And then you use guys like Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton to push the field. Use Sterling Shepard to settle into the middle of the field, Evan Ingram to push the seams. So... And I know Anthony has his
I just want to throw out there, yeah, I agree, but my problem is that I have lost all trust and faith in Darius Slayton. This guy drops passes week to week. He is not what we thought he was. I always thought at best he was going to be. I always thought he was going to be a very good wide receiver too. A lot of fans wanted to push for that wide receiver one. I knew he probably was never going to turn into that. I honestly struggle to see him as a wide receiver 2 now. He has really played himself out of that. He's so inconsistent. He drops passes week to week. I know he had a good performance last week, and he's had a few 100-yard performances this year, but really overall, look at the full body of work this season. It's been largely disappointing, overwhelming, and very, very inconsistent. I don't trust him anymore. But still, yeah, your point does stand. Those vertical concepts open things up underneath. No matter who you have running them, it just pushes defenders out of the way. So, yeah.
Yep, and I want to see Saquon more involved in the passing game. I would love if they went out and find a big running back, like a big body. Let Gallman go. Let Alfred Morris, old man, go. Let these guys go. Get Deion Lewis the hell out of there too, because he's basically a check with no production. So this is what I would like. If they found a big body, maybe draft a guy in the later rounds, a big-bodied running back who can just pick up short yardage, like Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. That's the tandem I want. I want the Giants to use Saquon like the Saints do Alvin Kamara, like exactly like that, and we would see why he's worth spending money on. Even though I don't think he's worth it at this point because we have never been able to utilize him properly. But you see how a running back can actually be that valuable when you have a good coach to utilize them properly, right? We just don't use Saquon properly, and it was always a stretch that we were going to be able to do it. So we need a forward-thinking offensive coordinator who uses him as a receiver, disguises things in pre-snap, and gets him to run not between the tackles but outside zone. Right? Don't run him between the tackles. He's a terrible north-south runner. We know this. Run him outside of the tackles. Give him halfback sweeps with pulling guards like Lemieux who can get those blocks done. Get those blocks done. That is what they need. And Jason Garrett actually does that well. He actually does run the football well in those outside zone blocking schemes with the pulling guards. He does that well. It's his passing concepts that are absolute garbage. But you can find an offensive coordinator who does similar things in the running game with just way better passing concepts, and that's what we need. And also just using them more creatively, just modernizing this offense entirely because we don't have the worst talent in the world. We're just underperforming vastly. DJ is a decent quarterback. The route concepts are terrible. I saw there was one play specifically where Dante Pettis ran basically just a streak up the middle from the slot and got a really nice 20-yard reception. And I was like, holy crap, did the Giants just run 4 verts? I haven't seen that in 2 years. So that's like basic stuff like that. And look, I want to say this team is going forward, but we just took 10 steps back with these past 3 losses. Big steps back. Big ones. Because Arizona looked like crap this week. The Browns looked like crap this week. And they made us look embarrassed. They made us look embarrassing, So, with my final remarks, I just want to say, as always, thank you guys so much for the support. Just listening to us vent. Hopefully you agree with some of our points. But of course, there's a lot of work left to do. We're going to be doing a lot of it during the offseason, looking at players and stuff. So keep involved in the YouTube. Obviously, a lot more people are dropping comments. I respond to all of them, and obviously the community page. So please keep doing that, being involved. We want this to be a really community-based thing and really have you guys a part of it. Very, very much building this around you. Everything we do is for you. As always, thank you guys so much. And Anthony, I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just stay tuned, as we do look towards the offseason as the season is coming to a close. Stay tuned for more film breakdowns, a lot of draft prospect film breakdowns, trying to get some exclusive All-22 college film. If you know that's really hard to come by, but we're going to do it for you guys. We're going to do a lot of stuff like that. And then, of course, we're going to be looking into free agents, talking about who could replace who on the coaching staff and all that stuff. We appreciate your support as always. We're sorry that this game didn't go the way we all wanted it to. It's very disappointing. But at least we all have each other, this Giants family. That's just a lot of great things within this family. And thank you guys for being a part of this community that we're building. And stay tuned for more great Giants and football content from Empire Sports Media and Fireside Giants.